Welcome to UGC CEC online lecture series. I am Dr. Divya Varma-Gakhar and Assistant Professor in Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, Delhi. So in the series of lectures on financial management, we were discussing working capital management. So continuing with the same topic of working capital management, we were talking about that working capital is a very important function of the routine life of a finance manager, where he has to decide about how much working capital or how much cash is required for day-to-day functioning of the business, so that the business doesn't lose on its credit worthiness, is good in terms of its solvency, as well as the company is also not losing on their profitability by maintaining extra amount of cash. So we had discussed about the concept of gross working capital and net working capital and permanent and temporary working capital. Now, working capital can be temporary and permanent. So some routine expenses which you understand that these are the fixed liabilities which company has to pay during the year or during a month. So that amount of minimum balance a company should maintain so that those payments can be made on time. So that is what is the permanent working capital. And temporary working capital is that aspect of working capital which is once in a while kind of, or on monthly basis, it fluctuates in terms of whether that expense is going to come or not. And based on that, month on month basis or on different occasions and time periods, you can define that some extra funds are required for the management of the temporary working capital, and that balance can be maintained. Now, moving on further with this, that there are three approaches to working capital management, financing of working capital. From where should we finance this working capital? One approach is a conservative approach. As per the conservative approach, it is suggested that the long-term funds of the company, that means which are raised from the long-term sources of finance, should be used to fund the fixed assets plus permanent current assets and some part of temporary current assets. That is a conservative approach. And the short-term funds which the company has raised from various sources of finance is only used to finance some part of the current assets, so that at any point of time the company is not in a situation of not obliging its payments on time. Second approach is an aggressive approach of working capital management. As per this approach, it is suggested that long-term sources of finance of a company should only be used to finance the fixed assets of the company and some part of permanent current assets. Not all the permanent current assets should be financed with the long-term funds of the company, but the short-term funds should be used for financing the remaining part of permanent current assets plus temporary current assets of the company. And third approach is a matching approach. Under the matching approach, it suggests that long-term funds of the company should be used to finance the fixed assets of the company and the permanent current assets of the company, and short-term funds should be used for financing the temporary current assets of the company. So these are three approaches how companies finance their working capital requirement. Then there is another concept related to working capital management, that is the concept of working capital cycle or operating cycle. Now, concept of operating cycle is very important to decide that how much working capital will be required by a company at any given point of time. Now, looking at this cycle, this working capital cycle or the operating cycle of a company is also known as cash to cash cycle. So initially, now what is the process of functioning of a company? What happens? Company starts its business with cash. It invests its cash into purchase of raw material and making payment to laborers and other expenses so that production can start. So whatever investment is made by the company to start the production and during the raw material stage, all that is the cash investment. So we start the business with cash, then that raw material gets converted into work in progress. Now for conversion, so there's a production cycle of every company. That is the number of days a company is going to take for starting the production from conversion of raw material to the finished product. So how many number of days a company is going to take for that? So a shorter production cycle would require lesser working capital. A longer production cycle of more number of days involved for work in progress days would require more amount of working capital. And then the finished goods are produced. So once the finished goods are ready to sell, then next step of the working capital cycle is selling those products. So those products are reaching to the wholesalers, retailers, and all of the retail stores of the company where it is actually getting sold. Now, converting the sales, the finished good to sales stage also can take few number of days for any company. That is known as the shelf, a number of days the products are available on the shelf of the company, of the various retail stores before it gets sold. Now, it is not possible that finished good will get converted into sales on the next day. Few number of days it will take. So what are those number of days that need to be adjusted, that need to be added or accounted for, so that to ensure that for how much number of days we need working capital. Next stage is once the sales is made. So after the sales is, the goods are sold. For most of the companies, it is seen that not all the goods are sold on cash basis. For companies where they are dealing with wholesalers, franchisees, and other stores, so the goods are sold on credit majorly. And once the goods are sold on credit, to ensure that the production gets sold quickly, companies give a lot of schemes and offers to make the payment at a later date. So the company creates debtors. Now there's a credit policy of every company too, that how many number of days of credit a company allows generally to its debtors. So the average number of days which a company is going to allow its debtors to make the payment is known as your the debtors payment period. So longer is the debtors payment period, larger would be the requirement for the working capital for the company. And after that, those debtors will be giving the payment to the company in the form of cash, or the payment would be received for the goods which were sold earlier, and that is what is the cash has been received by the company. So it is cash to cash cycle. A company starts on day one, invests some cash in purchase of raw material, work in progress number of days are involved, then finished good is produced. Finished good once produced will get converted into sales. After a few number of days, that sales get converted into debtors after a number of days, and that debtors will get converted into cash after that. So this whole cycle, so it can be a cycle of, let's say, 10 days for a company. It can be a whole cycle of cash to cash. Can be for 45 days, can be for 60 days or 90 days or 120 days for a company. So whatever is the number of days of working capital cycle which a company needs to have, and then company needs to account for that, how much is their daily expense. So based on their daily expense multiplied with number of days of working capital for which it needs to, the cash invested on day one will get converted into cash after 45 days. So they need money to finance their, raw material purchase for the second day, third day, and like this for all 45 days, because first investment will get converted into cash after 45 days. So that is how a company needs to plan for its working capital requirement on daily basis. So for calculating this gross operating cycle period or net operating cycle period, so net operating cycle period is gross operating cycle period minus average payment period. So like a company has this cash to cash cycle. Now in this case there is a concept of average payment period. Now this concept is that the company is also not purchasing the raw material by making the payment in cash. Company is also getting some amount of discount or some amount of number of days for making the payment for the creditors. That is how it creates creditors or bills payable. So the minimum number of days which the creditor is allowing the company to make the payment, so those number of days can be subtracted. Let's say a creditor also allows you to make the payment for purchase of raw material in 15 days. So if your gross working operating cycle is 45 days minus 15 days, so that means you need surplus cash to maintain your day-to-day expenses for 30 days at least. So that is net working capital, net operating cycle period or net working capital. So gross operating cycle period is the number of days from one cash to cash cycle of the company. So the formula which we use for calculating this operating cycle period is raw material storage period plus conversion period plus finished goods storage period plus average collection period and minus average payment period. Now, how does we calculate raw material storage period? For this, we need to first calculate annual consumption of raw material for the company, which involves calculating average daily consumption, which includes formula for calculating average daily consumption is annual consumption of raw material divided by number of days in a year. So raw material storage period for a company is calculated on the basis of average stock, which is opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2, you get the average stock. So average stock divided by average daily consumption, you will get raw material storage period in number of days. Second part of the formula is calculating the conversion period. How conversion period is calculated? For this, we need average stock of work in progress divided by average daily cost of production. So first we need to calculate annual cost of production for the company, which is calculated as opening stock of work in progress plus consumption of raw material plus other manufacturing costs like wages, power and other direct expenses plus depreciation and minus closing work in progress of the company. Then converting it into average daily cost of production. So annual cost of production divided by number of days, we will get average daily cost of production. For calculating average stock of work in progress, we need to get the opening stock of work in progress plus closing stock of work in progress divided by 2. We will get the average, and that can be used for calculating average conversion period. Third part of the formula for calculating operating cycle is finished goods storage period. Now, finished goods storage period, we need to know what is the average daily cost of sales. So first we calculate annual cost of sales of the company. This is calculated as opening stock of finished goods plus cost of production plus excise duty plus selling and distribution cost plus general administrative cost plus financing cost. That means all indirect costs are taken into consideration minus the closing stock of finished goods. So this annual cost of sales, once divided by the number of days in a year, we get average daily cost of sales. So average stock of finished goods is calculated as opening stock of finished goods plus closing stock of finished goods divided by 2. So finished goods storage period formula is average stock of finished goods divided by average daily cost of sales. Next one is average collection period. Average collection period is calculated from the credit sales of the company, the number of debtors which the company has. So we need to first have the annual credit sales of the company. Then we need to convert it into average daily credit sales by dividing it by number of days in a year. We need to know our balance of debtors. So average balance of debtors is calculated as opening debtors of the beginning of the year and closing debtors of the end of the year divided by 2. So average collection period is average balance of debtors divided by average daily credit sales. So this will give us an average value that how many average number of days company is allowing its debtors to make the payment for the goods purchased on credit. Next is average payment period. So average payment period is calculated as annual credit based on annual credit purchase. How much goods by the company was purchased on credit in the form of raw material purchases. We need to calculate average daily credit purchase of the company. So annual credit purchases divided by number of days in a year of a company. Then we need to know our average creditors, which is opening creditors of the year plus closing creditors of the year divided by 2. So average payment period formula is average creditors divided by average daily credit purchases. So based on this formula, we can calculate gross working capital or gross operating cycle and net operating cycle, based on which a company can decide that for how many minimum number of days they need to manage their daily cash requirement, and that is the amount of working capital they can maintain at any point of time in the as a balance in the company. Now, there are 3 aspects to the working capital management which are very important. Now, which are related to current assets. So we need to ensure, for good working capital management, we need to ensure the inflows and manage the outflows. So for managing the inflows, there are 3 important components of inflows which a company can manage. One is their cash and bank balance, how much they will maintain at any point of time, because this aspect is related to profitability. Second aspect of current assets is your debtors. Now debtors is those credit sales which we have made on credit and will make the payment after some time. So this will why we need to have debtors, because they ensure larger number of sales for the company and ensure good competitiveness in the environment. So we need to have debtors as well. And third aspect is inventory. Now talking about the current assets, these current assets are highly liquid assets, or the assets which will get converted into cash in a shorter period of time. Now looking at the liquidity aspect of the current assets, cash is liquid, debtors are second best liquid asset, and inventories are those assets which are highly illiquid, because these require investments, these require purchase of inventory of raw material if you purchase. So it depends on various aspects, that when these inventories will be work in progress time period will be there, and then the inventories will be finished good will be manufactured, it will be sold, and then it will be converted into cash. So maintaining a stock of raw material and maintaining a stock of finished goods are two important aspects or decision of the working capital management, that how much profit a company is going to earn, or how they are going to manage their cash inflows during any time period. So inventory management is very, very important from a company's perspective. Now what is inventory? Inventory includes raw material, work in progress, and finished goods. What is the purpose of inventory management? So inventory management purpose is to minimize the total costs that are associated with holding inventory. Now why understanding and managing inventory is so important for the life of a finance manager? Because inventory has got two aspects. So there are various types of inventory: raw material stock we need to maintain, finished goods stock we need to maintain, there is work in progress that is there for a company. Now management of inventory is important because if a company does not maintain raw material stock and production is going on, so if raw material stock of any item goes out of stock, it is a very bad situation for a company, because laborers have come to the company and there is a no production kind of stage for a company, and labor hours, machine hours will get wasted, and there will be loss of profitability for the company, and there will be huge cost which a company will incur. So that means a company should not have a situation of having low inventory or no stock of raw material at any point of time. Similarly, no stock of finished good which is there. Let's say a customer comes, wants to buy a product of the company and on a retail store, and the product is not available. So this gives a bad impression in the mind of customer that something is wrong with the production of the company, and he will switch to some other brand. So switching of customers or customer loyalty will get affected if a company's stock is not available at any point of time on any store where the customer is reaching out. So managing finished good inventory or keeping a finished good stock is also very, very important. A company cannot afford to have no stock of finished good or no stock of raw material at any point of time. But there is cost associated with maintaining a stock also. Maintaining a stock involves huge cost. One, you have to buy raw material in advance. You're not sure whether how quick the production will be, how quick the sales will be, but still you have to buy. So it is parking of lot of funds in purchase of raw material. So you're losing on your interest, and you're losing on, so there's opportunity cost to it. Apart from that, when you purchase raw material stock, another kind of cost which is associated with it is holding cost, where you're going to store your stock of raw material. You need to maintain some warehouses, you need to keep a guard, you need to spend some money on insurance of the theft and wastage of those raw material inventory which you have maintained. So maintaining all that is a challenge for a company. And a company needs to ensure that their raw material stock or finished goods stocks are not too huge, that they are becoming a burden to the company in terms of holding cost, in terms of storage cost, in terms of parking of funds in that, and opportunity lost by those funds. So all of this needs to be ensured. That's why there's a balance which need to be maintained by the company to ensure that inventory should not be less and inventory should not be more. So there should be some optimum level of inventory that should be maintained. Now if we look at our daily lives, so inventory management is one beautiful aspect. You can see inventory management in your household, and your mothers are your best are best managers in terms of inventory management. So, home managers would ensure that in your kitchens there is never a stock out position. It never happens in your kitchen. You have never seen that there's no sugar or there's no tea. Some guests have come, there's nothing to eat, or one fine day you realize there is no wheat or flour in the house, or no vegetables are available. So that means fulfillment of inventory happens on daily basis. So it is all about good management of household. That there is no ever a situation has come where there's a stock out position in the kitchen of a family. And your mothers will also ensure that there is not huge amount of raw material stock which is available. Let's say they will not park huge amount of funds in, let's say, buying vegetables which are beyond the consumption of your family, and then they get rotten or they get wasted just because they were harmed due to season or climate, or by not consumption. So management of kitchen inventory would be ensured in such a way that there is no stock out position, as well as there is no wastage which is happening because of over purchase of raw material. So if a family is able to manage it nicely, so that means there has to be an optimum level of inventory of various items which need to be maintained in the kitchens of the household. So that is what is inventory management all about. And looking at, from the company's perspective, various tools and techniques which are available for managing this inventory, we need to look at various aspects of inventory. That level of liquidity of inventory is very, very low. Then it is a current assets. It has got liquidity lag. There are three types of liquidity lag which are associated with inventory. One is creation lag. Creation lag is the minimum number of days your raw material will be kept in the warehouse, because you need to maintain the minimum raw material balance. So let's say 1 week, after every 1 week the raw material gets, goes to the floor of the production factory site where it is used for production. Then there is a storage lag. So creation lag would include the work in progress time from the conversion of raw material to the finished goods stage. Then there is storage lag of how much number of days raw material is being stored, for how many number of days finished goods stock is maintained in storage, so that the availability of resources is there. And third is your sales lag. How many number of days the finished goods stock is kept on the shelves of the retail stores before it gets sold. And then another feature of inventory is that it's a circulating inventory. It is a circulating activity. So you buy raw material, it gets converted into finished product, it gets sold, again you buy raw material. So it is like movement of stock is very, very important. So companies which are working well, which are doing well in business, so you will find that their stock turnover ratios are very high. Now, what are the costs associated with inventory? There is material cost, ordering cost, carrying cost, and stock out cost which is there. What are the techniques available for inventory control? One is ABC technique. ABC technique, stock levels, then economic order quantity, perpetual inventory control, and inventory valuation techniques. Now, ABC technique is always better control. Now, in this technique, what we are doing, we are categorizing our items into three type of categories: A category item, B category, and C category items. Now, A category items are high value items. They are always available in the company in small percentage, and they are kept under tightest control because they are costly. So loss or wastage of any A category item is going to have a huge financial cost to the company. So company doesn't want to lose any single item, so they will be kept under lock and key, or they'll be kept under tight controls, so that no wastage, maybe if it is required to be kept in cold storage or some other climatic conditions, so they are ensured. Then there are B category items. Now these are those items which are medium value items. They are kept under normal control, and normal stock treatments are ensured for that, because any wastage of that will not cost much to the company. And also, if there is cost involved in storing the medium value items, so the company need not pay much attention to it. Then there are C category items. These are low value material. These are those items which are very cheaply available. So ensuring them to kept in proper conditions in the warehouse, or having them, there's an insurance which you have taken on them, are not required, and you can have simple methods of control for such items, and these are usually large number of items which are available for the company. So A category items would have 70% of the total value, and the total quantity will be just 10% in the company, and C category items will have 5% of the total value of the company cost, and the total quantity will be of 60%. Then company can also ensure various stock levels of understocking and overstocking can be ensured, that there is no understocking of stock and no overstocking of these items. So for this there are various formulas which we can use for ensuring these stock levels. One is maximum level, minimum level, reorder level, and danger level. Reorder level is at what point of time a company should buy a new inventory. It can be based on your maximum consumption period, maximum consumption of inventory at any point of time, multiplied with maximum reorder period. How maximum level is calculated? It is reorder level plus reorder quantity minus minimum consumption multiplied with minimum reorder period, minimum number of days which it takes to order new inventories. Third formula for calculating the minimum level is it is calculated as reorder level minus normal consumption multiplied with normal reorder period of the company. Then there is a danger level which is maintained. Now this is danger level is normal consumption during any day multiplied with maximum reorder period under emergency period. So if a company ensures that they have a minimum level decided, that this is the minimum level of inventory they will maintain, this is their danger level, and a higher level can be a maximum level. So this is the maximum level of inventory they will maintain. So as soon as their usage or stock of inventory reaches to minimum level, a new order is placed, which is your at the reorder level a new order is placed, so that the company, before reaching to the minimum level, inventory gets, or the raw material gets reordered, and again the levels reach to the maximum level. Then there is average stock level. Average stock level can be calculated as minimum level plus maximum level divided by 2. Now what is lead time? A term called lead time is the time interval between the time when an item reaches the reorder level and a fresh order is placed to the time of actual receipt of the material. Then there's a formula called economic order quantity. EOQ is that size of the order which gives maximum economy in purchasing any material and ultimately contributes towards maintaining the material at the optimum level at the minimum cost of the company. So there are two types of cost which it takes into consideration. One is ordering cost and carrying cost. So EOQ formula, as it suggests, it is under root of 2 multiplied with annual production of the company multiplied with ordering cost divided by the carrying cost. Now this will ensure that optimum level, this will give us an optimum level of inventory that should be purchased at any reorder point, so that the ordering cost is lowest and the carrying cost or the holding cost of inventory also comes out to be the lowest. So based on this, a company decides that how much inventory they have to order, when they have to place an order, which inventories need to be kept in more control, which needs to be kept in a loose control, so that their attention and the efficiency of the managers can be ensured. So effective inventory management is very, very relevant for any company to ensure good working capital management of the company. Thanks for watching, and in the next video we are going to talk about cash management and receivables management.